Okay, we're recording. Audios are go. So, hi.
Hello, Ms. Janice.
Ms. Betty. So this version of Conversations from the Couch is with none other than Megan, if people want to find you on Facebook, Megan Betty Morin, but we all call you Betty. So we'll repeat that at the end in case you want to find her and her book. But I'm going to call her Betty from here on out because that's how I've known her for, oh my gosh, how long has it been? 6 years?
At least, yeah.
About 6, yeah.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah, I'm just excited. I mean, you shot right up and you are now a #1 best-selling author.
Yay!
And
yes, along with a bunch of other amazing women. And what's super, super cool to me is that for a minute, I was like, oh, does this diminish the fact that this is does the collaborative piece of this diminish the #1 best-selling author? And actually, the coolest part of that is that it's no, actually there are 30 women who were willing to share their stories. I mean, these stories are simply amazing, right? And 30 women actually said yes to being okay, I've been invisible and I've moved to invincible in this place in my life and I'm willing to share it. And it's because of the collaboration that we hit #1, and we've actually been #1 in new releases on women's self-esteem for 53 hours.
And going.
Not 1 hour.
No, you didn't.
53 hours.
It wasn't a pop and drop. No, you're
exactly.
You're still going.
Exactly.
And after this,
there's longevity to this.
Yes.
Exactly. And we can the coolest part is the ripple effect to me.
Yes. Well, and that's so just so people know, the name of the book is Invisible No More, Invincible Forever More. And it is a collaboration, a collection of, like you said, 30 women. I do think the collaboration is super cool. And I think it allows for more voices to be heard. And on this little community, I'm all about the we rise, we roar. We get our voices, we get our stories, and we share and we show up with that. So that's super exciting to me too. Super also exciting was the other day to be able to say to your husband, how does it feel to be married to a #1 best-selling author? And watch him go, really? Do you know how many times today I had to hear that? That's the face he was giving me. He's like, come on. I'm like, I know, right? How does that feel? As a successful businessman himself, who everybody knows Gabe, everybody also knows Betty.
Yes.
And now you're a best-selling author, so it's super cool. So with the title, though, like you said, it's Invisible to Invincible. And so can you just tell us a little more in depth, what does that look like? What is the journey and that kind of thing? And then I'd love to hear, obviously, your contribution and piece.
So I think it's actually something different to each of us. And that's to me what makes this book so powerful is that I have seen myself in a lot of these other women. And since Tuesday, when we decided to do the book launch, not quite as scheduled because the time was just right, I have been on this thread of conversation with all of the different authors. And, I believe that we all have our own unique flavor and that flavor is going to jive with a lot of different people, right? So some of these stories are trauma from childhood. Some of these stories are about women moving out of abusive relationships. One of them is actually a tribute chapter by a woman to her mother, because her mother is the archetype for her of invincibility, right? So it's such a different arc for every single author. And for me, my story of moving from invisibility to invincibility is really around mental health. and a fear of a diagnosis of bipolar, which I received when I was 11. And fast forward to age 37, when I finally decided to start treating the diagnosis. Not treating me, there's nothing wrong with me, but treating this label. And actually, when I was able to look at the label and I was able to actually read what it meant, what I started getting was a sense of freedom. That, yeah, this is actually my experience of life, but all it is a label. And so now it was objective. It was no longer a subjective experience. I no longer had to hold this experience as mine. And all the doors opened. And when I started to really surrender and surrender and surrender to what could be possible in treating this diagnosis, that is when I really started to experience magic. And so my chapter is actually titled The Magic of Surrender, because I got to see in a very, very specific place in my life where surrender changed my entire experience. And I've been on the path of surrender at least since 2009, but much, much longer before that. And in 2009, I learned a really specific meditation practice called Ascension Meditation, as taught by the Ashayas of the Bright Path. And this practice is all about surrender and allowance. And I would have glimpses of that practice, and I would have glimpses of that experience. And I knew I wanted more of that experience. And this is the journey that really taught me that living from surrender and living from a space of allowing and trust that God has my back. And for me, God is the greatest source for good in the universe. It doesn't have anything to do with anything religious. So you can insert whatever word you have for the greatest source of good in the universe for God, if I say God again. But really, like, this experience solidified that I can do that in every day of my life. Do I forget because I'm human? Oh my gosh, yes. Do my kids push all my buttons? Oh, heavens to Betsy, yes. But celebrating the remembering of coming back is the place for me where life actually occurs.
It's funny you say that, because I do believe that you're right. Surrender is a pivotal moment for so many humans to finally realize something else has got us.
Yeah, and we're not in control of anything.
So, but at the same time, we have to do our part in that co-creation to understand and experience that, because if we resist, that resistance, is the thing that's keeping us from that greatest source, right? And some people call that ego. You could call it a whole bunch of things. But basically it's just, to me, you're in the wrong energy. The universe is like, over here, I'm creating amazing things. Yeah, but I can only focus on the negative. And so you keep recharging your battery the wrong way, and you get the wrong kind of juice in, and you're like, why is everything just so hard? It's like, because you keep saying it's hard. Mm-hmm. And you keep trying, and you keep grasping, and you keep clawing.
Well,
it's like, but when you surrender, and
you keep building an evidence file.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you keep building a file of evidence.
Yeah.
Right? And you keep going back to that evidence and being like, well, no, this is why it's hard. This is why it's hard. This is why it's hard. And so, I think we've all heard, right, where your attention goes, like your energy flows, right? And so if you're placing your attention on alignment, if you're placing your attention on trust, if you're placing your attention on joy, if you're placing your attention on manifestation, right? When we start to place our attention in those spaces and we start to have faith, not faith from the couch, right? This is a conversation from the couch, but faith is like, it's action, right? And actually, while I was really moving into this space of treating the diagnosis of manic depression, which is a subset of bipolar, that's why I just say I have bipolar, because, it's easier. But as I started into the space of healing, this opportunity for writing a chapter in this book showed up. Right. And so I actually started this chapter in October of 2020. And I didn't finish it until May of 2021. I had a really solid, great draft on October 31st because I just wanted to get it done. And then I was like, this isn't quite the chapter. I'm going to let this simmer for a little bit. And I'm going to go through more of this experience and see what occurs. Right. So it was this wonderful evolution. And if I had never trusted that I was in the right place to say yes, I wouldn't be sitting here as a #1 best-selling author at this point. Right. And so I had no idea why I said yes. I had no idea. Sure, I've always wanted to write a book. I think a lot of people have that dream. But now I'm expanding into a place of experiential speaking, which apparently is a subset of public speaking that I have created because I've Googled it and no one else calls themselves an experiential speaker, which is kind of fun too, right? But as a public speaker, as a keynote speaker, oftentimes, right, a foot in the door is a best-selling book or being an author. And so in May, when I started this, really realizing that is where I inspire, that is where I have something to give and receive, right? That is the key component that I've been missing for, the last 38 years of my life.
Once again, right? Here we are.
Here we are, right?
Right, connected again.
And so I had no idea that I was going to launch a public speaking career. And oh my gosh, this is a stepping stone to being to people trusting that I have something to offer. Right? Trust is a huge part of this. I don't have thousands of followers on Instagram and Facebook because it's not where I'm placing my attention. Right? But now I'm part of this amazing collaboration that's now a #1 best-selling book on Amazon in multiple categories.
And I
think now
that, though,
people
receiving it all. It's
exactly
flowing in.
Yes, exactly. And now it's okay, cool, great. It's kind of like getting my college degree. I'm sweet, I have a piece of paper now that says I'm smart. I can give that to somebody and then they'll think I'm smart, right? But it all starts here.
Well, and I think
Janice,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say one of the things.
Well, you and I were talking about that the other day.
Yeah, I was going to say we were.
Yeah.
But the other thing too, before we even jump to where it starts, that resistance piece again, you said the word and it reminded me that sometimes resistance to allowing is giving.
Yeah.
And,
100%.
And I think as women, we find giving to be a feminine energy. We believe that we give. And really, feminine true energy is to allow and receive. And sometimes, like you were saying, in a relationship, we were talking about this the other day, in a relationship, if you're constantly giving, you're not allowing anything to come in and receive. And then we have anger and resentment. I don't get appreciated. I don't receive a thank you. And it's you don't give any space because all you do is give. Allow yourself to be seen and received.
Yep.
And it's since changing that perspective, that giving is more masculine energy and receiving is this feminine energy, and then understanding like where we truly shine, you've stepped into your true divine self, and the universe has said, now let me give. And you say, thank you, I receive. And
exactly.
I'm open.
Exactly.
I want to receive now. I'm tired of pushing everything out.
Yep. Exactly. And it's so interesting because it bleeds out into everything else. Right? Like my youngest child, he's having some severe,
he's so cute.
Like he's having tummy issues. He is having what I think most people would call behavioral issues. But so I called his pediatrician to get an appointment, fully ready for it to be like 3 weeks out. And guess what? I called yesterday and they have an appointment for him at 5 o'clock today. Right. And those are the things that when I am in that space, right, when I'm in that space of allowing, of surrendering, of giving up what I think things should look like.
As my dad says, you want to make God laugh, tell him what your plans are.
Anyway, exactly. Yes, exactly. Right. And so it's just like one more reminder of like, oh, that was easy. And of course that was easy. Right. Why would I think that it wouldn't be? And so my teacher, Maharishi Krishnananda Ashraya, he always has reminded me to, especially in moments of what seems like unalignment, or what seems hard, or what seems like there's no way out, or whatever. Why is this happening for me? Why is this happening for me?
Yeah. Because
what was that?
If you're open to it happening for you, it's not against you.
Exactly. And there you all of a sudden have choice. Right? Oh, I can be a victim of my circumstance, or I can choose for something different. Wow, I got switched from my original travel plans to traveling with 2 small humans on 3 different airplanes to airports that I didn't know. Yes, this just happened to me. And it happened to me because I never asked that question. And I had a total freaking breakdown in Tennessee and had to call my mom, and she had to tell me, find a person to leave your bags with and go to the newsstand and buy all of you some food and eat. Right? So thank God I found an angel, and my mother was an angel, right? But like, I had no space for choice. Like, I just didn't. Right? But then it was like, oh, it happened perfectly. Right? It really happened perfectly. And I did have angels, and I did have choice. I just couldn't see it.
Well, and I think that's the other thing that I've embraced the contrast to remind me.
Oh, yeah.
To remind me that my alignment is not the way, in the same vein. Like when I find when I'm super, super frustrated and I'm annoyed at this and I'm annoyed at that, it takes me a second, but then it's like, wait, I'm annoyed to show me that I am not in the right alignment in order to receive the best things for myself. And no wonder I'm having evidence of everyone's ticking me off because they're there to remind me that I'm not standing in love. I'm not in my highest vibration. I have not taken care of me. I am not, whatever those things are. And then suddenly it's like everything starts to go in, and that calm and that peace and that love. And then next thing you know, something shows up, evidence that, see, when you're here, the universe is too. Here we are. It's all good.
Yep.
Like you said,
when you're actually listening, when you're present to it, there's nothing that can stop you.
Yeah. No matter
right?
what.
Like really,
yeah.
No matter what happens. And I don't know about you, but in my experience, anchoring myself in the present moment in whatever, like with whatever tools we use, right? Anchoring myself in the present moment is really what keeps me aligned, right? Thinking about the past, thinking about the future, like I'm taken out of the present moment, whether I'm in the past in regret or whether I'm in the present in anxiety or even excitement, right? Because so I'm hoping my kids don't see this before September 18th, which I highly doubt they will, but
that's why we're
going to Disneyland. Right. So we're going to Disneyland in September. And I've decided not to tell them until we go to Disneyland. Because I can't handle their excitement.
like the energy just translates to you as anxiety.
Exactly. It totally does. So I'm like, I'm not telling them. Right. Like, I'm like, it will just be an awesome surprise because I can't handle all the questions and the like excitement because it translates for me into anxiety. Right. and so it's just a really, really interesting, like, I'm so glad I made that choice. And I made that choice with my sister because her cousin, her kids are coming. Right. And I called her and I was like, I need to ask a favor. Can we do it this way? Right. And she was like, oh my gosh, of course we can. Yes, that would actually help me too. Right. So then we had to get grandma on board and stuff. Right. But it was like, oh, like this is, yeah, I'm thinking about the future, but I'm making the choice in the present moment that I know serves me best.
Mm-hmm. And
right?
it turned out to be
and like
perfect and beautiful for everyone. Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Now,
and so,
okay, one question before we move on. So speaking of timelines, we talked about this a little bit, but would you like to talk a little bit about someone stuck in the past or someone who, we talked about this. We all hear this. You can't change the past.
I fully disagree with that.
I know. That's why I was prompting that because I was like, me too. But this is the conversation. But this is the thing I wanted to talk about on here is, yeah, you're stuck in the past.
So when we're stuck in the past, right? You talk about vibration, right, Janice? Mm-hmm. And we're simply in that like low vibration, right? And so all there is to do is spiral upward. Right? And so there are tools to do that, like essential oils. We know change our vibration. Like we know that. Like there are studies that show that it actually shifts the physical vibration because of the vibration of the oil, right? And I have certain tools that I use. I have a very specific meditation practice. I've also learned this cool modality called geotran. Just the name is just so weird to me. And I have actually done releasing.
Sorry, Jay's here now. I said she can join.
Hi, Jay.
She's listening. I'm like, come on up here.
Hi. Yes. Hi. But it's really, really cool. Geotran actually has work for timelines where you can actually, so I've released a timeline once and I'll just share that with you guys. So my first birth was a horrific experience. It was totally horrible for myself and my child. And I was feeling an immense amount of guilt for not accepting a C-section, for being so stuck in what I thought it should look like that I would not accept the medical intervention that, thank God, both me and my child survived this horrific experience, but would have completely changed the experience. Right. And so I had an immense amount of guilt for this. And I called a dear friend of mine who is trained in geotran. And I just like, I just like, all of it just came pouring out. And she and I actually did this timeline work where all I had to do was accept the C-section. That's it.
Acceptance again.
And I simply gave myself the gift of accepting the C-section. And the guilt just melted away. Right? And so it was simply a gift to me and to my child, because I no longer had to have a relationship that was fraught with guilt with him. Right? And back in legacies of humans. Right? When we heal what's occurring for us in the present moment, we heal quantumly. And I have no idea how it works. Just like I have no idea how this thing works. Right? I don't know how my phone works. I don't understand it. God, it's magical. Right? But it's the same thing for me. It's like, I don't know how, but I know that my experience is freer. And I don't know how, but I know that in this moment, damn, it feels good.
Well, and I think that's the
get to release that.
Being in the present moment with that glance backwards to what it was, the acceptance, the understanding, whatever it comes to, a lesson, whatever, but it's the grace to accept and be gracious and grateful instead of guilt, resentful, whatever those other experiences were. When you release that and stand in gratitude for whatever it was, truly was, it completely changes the experience.
Yep.
So you change your past.
100%.
You change your past. What happened, the circumstance,
exactly,
the incident, does not change as far as the 3D tangible moment, but the experience
and the story
changes. And like Jay's saying, the story changes, and now going forward,
yes,
you are different. You experience
exactly.
different, and your life now is different than it would have been if you had stayed in that energy and that experience from your past. And so,
and here's the cool, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. This is what we do to each other all day.
Okay. Right. And like,
you just said something so important, really, because not only so thank you, because you just
I was gonna say, do you see Nate's little toy?
I do. I see Nate's toy back there.
Light bulb moment. I know, isn't that funny? It was a light bulb moment for me, actually, because it allows us to integrate the occurrence, which prior we had like separate, right? So you like had the birth and that experience, and then you had the guilt that was over here. But when you bring it together and you merge the two and they integrate, like energetically, it's not a drain. Like that's so, thank you. Because then energetically, it's not a drain. It's not a make wrong. It's like it's such a, talk about frequency. It's a totally different frequency. Thanks.
Thank you. No, I'd never thought about it as integrating.
Yeah, but
like that, amazing. Yes. And the thing to me that says this is truth with a capital T, which is kind of my whole shtick, is that you can find this anywhere.
If you want to go.
Right? There's geotran, there's body talk, there are all of these amazing modalities. There's yoga, there are all of these amazing, there's quantum physics, for goodness sake. Right? There is there's all of this evidence that says, no, this is true. And to me, truth,
I love where she's getting
with it's flexible, it's malleable, it wants to find us, it wants us to find it, it wants us to experience it every single day.
You keep doing this. Why, Betty?
Because it's here.
It's right here. I was like, she's doing it.
All we have to do is remember.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we have to do. Because I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I experienced all of this. And then I was told I had to think about shit. And then I was told that I had to learn stuff. And then I got beliefs about myself and I forgot. I just forgot. And it's not a problem to forget. But oh my God, this celebration of remembering. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I know where we can go.
And so, yeah.
I was going to say, so nice segue there, Betty, not planned. I'm going to get you crying again. Can you start to talk about what you see? I know you're having the success of the book, and I know you're probably going to be talking about that a lot, but really your keynote speaking and your wanting to go on stage is more targeted to very specific children who are forgetting, and remember, helping them to remember sooner than you and I and you. Well, she's adorable.
Exactly.
I'll always be a kid. I'm committed to it.
Thank God. Oh, okay. We need to hang out.
I told you guys would like each other.
Like 100%. Because, and dude, my kids just keep reminding me, Mommy, play with me. Oh, that's right. Yes. I need to do that more.
Playtime.
But yeah, everybody talks about like middle schoolers as being like the toughest people. And actually, so Janice, I hadn't actually pinpointed it yet until you just asked me that question. Right. And I'm curious if that actually has to do with the fact that they are so split between two worlds. The world of childlike innocence and wanting to stay in that space because it's the truest form of who they are, and being forced into adulthood. Right? Like, I mean, that's what we're doing in middle school, right? Like, we're teaching more responsibilities, and you go to a lot of different classes, and so you have to manage your time, right? And so we start asking them to really move from this space of childlike innocence. And sorry, that's just like so middle schoolers, that's actually like the ones that are the toughest. And so I was an education major at one point in my college career. And I realized very early on, I am not altruistic enough to be an educator. Oh my God, educators have the most amazing hearts. And I can't. Like, it would be like, I would just want to bring everyone home. Like, it would be a very bad situation for me. But I was in the classroom and I was shadowing an English teacher in 6th grade. And I was like, oh no, I do not want to be in middle school. Ugh, middle schoolers, like, and what I experienced actually goes straight back to what I just said. And I never really realized how profound this experience was, that half of the class looked up to me to be like someone who they could talk to, someone who they wanted to impress. So like that childlike innocence of like, this is an important person and I want to do good work and I want to ask questions and I want to be part of this environment. And then the other half of the class were all like totally angsty, like you don't know anything. I'm the boss of my life, right? And so it was interesting because I loved the angsty kids. I loved them. I was like, you're my people. I know that angst, right? And now what I'm realizing literally in this conversation, which is why I love talking to people, is that anxiousness and that anxiety simply comes from not having the invitation to remember, but having more of an invitation to forget. Like that's where it comes from. And so for me, like what lights me up, what I'm passionate about is inviting specifically youth and apparently specifically middle schoolers to just remember and to do the things that light them up, right? Because nobody needs to go and sit on top of a mountain and close their eyes. Like that's not the world in which we live, right? So if the thing that makes you feel most alive, that gets you here, right? Like you said, Janice, I keep doing this. If that is going out and riding your bike as hard as you can, oh my God, do more of it. Right? If it's painting, if it's reading, if it's if it's playing the sport that you love, do more of that. You don't have to go out and learn a new skill. You don't have to do anything different. Like you do this, you do that thing, and you do more and more and more of that. Then you start living fully alive. And then tools and modalities and careers start to show up for you.
I think that's the other thing. We talked about this in the pool.
Because you
I was going to say what we talked about in the pool. So what was most heartbreaking for me is when my little cousin, he's much younger than me. We won't go into age difference there, but that he was so depressed because he was 18 and he's got one side saying, go to college, find your major, get a career, succeed in the world that way. And then he's got the social media, Instagram, IG world, Facebook world saying, follow your bliss and all things will happen for you. And he goes, what if you haven't had bliss in so long? You don't even know what bliss looks like. And I think that's the heartbreak, is a lot more and more of our youth have lost it. Yep. Don't remember it, but also they find this superficial version of it on social media.
Yes.
Feel they don't have that either. So they're just completely lost. And so, going back to a moment, and like you said, whether it's through a modality of meditation, you can use, like a version of neuro-linguistic programming, bring up the image, see the image, start to feel, and doing this kind of mindfulness and visualization and absorption, and then putting energy and focus and keep reliving until it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, so that you can remember the feeling of it. We use essential oils to elevate frequency, to elevate feeling, and to release other feelings out of the way. So there's space for positive energy and positive frequencies and feelings to come up in a person. But I do agree with you. And I think one of the other things we were just talking about is middle schoolers are now getting younger and younger.
Yes, they are.
Not only just in terms
in our community, they're in 5th grade.
I was going to say 5th grade is put all the way up there until 9th. Oh, look at her face. She's like, what? But also in their world experience, whether it's in the school or not, they have so much more input into their childhood that is of an older life, than what they're experiencing. And so really getting back to those memories is harder and harder.
Well, and actually, like you say that, Janice, and there are a number of children's hospitals right now who are doing research on cortisol levels in newborns.
Really? Oh, wait.
Between the amount of family stress and the amount of cortisol that a child is born with. So a lot of children are actually being born in fight or flight.
Yeah, I think I was. I think
born. Yes. Right. And so even that initial experience, right, is there's elevated hormone.
Yeah.
And so I mean, honestly, I cannot imagine the pain and suffering that so many children experience worldwide, in the United States, in my community. And I know that every child knows somewhere in their being that they're perfect. Like, humanity could not exist without that knowing. Like, we would have killed ourselves off a long time ago. And oh my God, we are really trying hard to do that.
I think that we've reached a pinnacle in my mind, because like, okay, every generation leads the, to the next, right? And the hope is that we are continually spiraling upwards for our children.
Evolving.
Yes.
Yep.
But that evolution has cost us in some ways and other ways. But there is at least I feel it, a calling for those who are feeling that alignment, feeling that reconnection, understanding that we need to have voice and presence so that our children have something different to experience as the reminder of that joy. And so another reason we use the essential oils too is to remove epigenetic trauma from generation to generation to generation to generation, and start to scrub that out of our children's cells and our own, but for our children. And it's these other modalities of teaching children how to access. And I, my dad always says birth, you want to talk about painful birth. He's like, try birth of a consciousness and a new consciousness. We're just going through some serious labor pains right now. But there are those of us who are aware we're birthing. And it's something we need to accept and step into, regardless of how it shows up.
Yes,
said that.
Exactly.
You had your idea of how it should show up. Now we're all accepting however this shows up and giving rise so that our children and children's children can continue to do that and have a voice. And
I mean, I look at like the baby boomers, right? And I look at the generation before the baby boomers, right? And I look at all of those generations, and our goal is always to give our children something more. But the thing that we want to give our kids isn't tangible in the sense of material, right? Like, and so I think it's a really interesting paradigm shift that's occurring.
It's much more internal than external.
Yes, because this is like that internal space. And Janice and I have talked about this too, not news to her, right? Like, it's the internal space that creates what we think of as the outside world. Right. And then we get to actually realize that we're not separate from anything. And that's a whole nother conversation.
There is no water, Betty. There is no water.
Exactly. There is no water. Like, I'm just the water. And so what's really, really cool to me is that, like, we're not, like, there's no middle class anymore. Like, those things have dissolved. Like we're seeing like all of that material stuff like actually start to dissolve within our, like, the construct of our society in a lot of ways. And yet we still want to give our kids more. It's like, well, if all of this is dissolving, what's the more? Oh, the more is going inward. The more is starting to listen to who I be.
Yeah. And
because we are human beings. We are not human doings.
Yes. And that there is it's not the accumulation of wealth. It's the abundance that is infinite.
Yes. That's the source for everything.
Yeah. So,
right.
And whatever that shows up
it's
like
so
for our
lovely.
kids. I mean, if Maxine wants to be a doctor on the moon and that lights her up and that's her thing, amazing. If she decides she wants to go and, I don't know, what's her other thing, dance, right? Yep. Great, that's her thing. And if it happens to be that she just wants to be on a boat and catch crawdads all day and that's her thing, and play them, I mean, she's gonna find, as long as we can keep reminding to center and joy and tapping into what brings that to us, then it doesn't matter whether they have wealth or not. Her love language is gifts. So I'm sure wealth will be in there somewhere.
Right. Gotta be.
It's a piece of straw. I'm the most special girl in the whole wide world. But
speaking of, we still need to make a zoo date because that was our birthday gift to Maxine. So we still need to make that zoo date.
I know. But that's the thing, that she knows her light and she knows what isn't. Yep. Is she probably going to be the most academically a gifted person? We'll see. Because right now she's having a lot of darkness around certain things. And we don't know if that's just because she needs to get through that or if she's going to around that. Hopefully she what mom did when mom got angry and get out of it. But that's her journey. But she at least is working through the energy of why she's upset, why she's frustrated. And I did put genius on it to focus. But I think that's the thing too with relationships in general and marriage too, is the turning inward. Again, it's instead of that external projection.
Well, and you guys said something earlier that I think is so important because there is this disconnect between the glossy perfection of social and then reality. And and for kids, it's so out of alignment, but they don't know why. Like, we can identify it more easily. It doesn't mean that we don't fall for it as well, but because there's it's such a disconnect. Like, kids have that awareness,
but they don't. You're right.
But then what do I do with that? And it's so illogical.
And they internalize it.
It's hard to process. So how do I go ride my bike hard when this guy is like looking all cute at the skateboard party? Like, it's very
exactly.
So we're inviting them to the dots when the dots don't connect.
Exactly. Right. And I guess that's where like the experiential part comes in, right? Is actually sharing tools, right? Sharing breath work, sharing awareness tools, right? Like just sitting together, moving your awareness and realizing that you have the power to put your awareness on the sun, sitting in a gym, in a chair. You can still be aware that the sun's shining. Holy crap. I can still be aware that my mom is mad at me. I can be aware of that, and it doesn't have to be who I am. Right? And so that's where the experiential part of this shows up, is like, there are tools, there are things that you can do, and they are not outside of who you are. You're going to breathe no matter what. So count your breath. When your heart is racing, you can count 4 breaths in and hold it and count 8 breaths out. See what happens. Right? Experience is our best teacher.
Well, and I think
that's why math was so horrible for me. I couldn't experience math. I was like, I don't get this. How can A plus X equal C? Like, there's what does this even mean? Like, you're putting letters and numbers together and then like a line and then like weird squiggles. Like, I don't get this. Like, I couldn't experience it until a friend of mine who is like a total math nerd started telling me about imaginary numbers. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Oh, that, I can totally get on board with that.
We make them up.
And so, exactly. Yes. Oh, I get to make this up. This is so cool. And so, like, I think that's the really, really, like, that's the crucial part, especially, Jay, for kids, right? Is that there needs to be a baseline of experience, right? And when we share tools that aren't outside of ourselves, there's a lot of empowerment there. You don't have to go somewhere else. Your situation doesn't have to be different, but your experience of it can be.
And that's where I think the title of the book makes sense. Because invisible seems like it would be something to society, but it's not. You were invisible to yourself.
Yep.
And now that you can see yourself, you're invincible, because you now truly know you are divine, you are powerful, and you are infinite, and you are fully capable of all of that infinite abundant source. And it makes you invincible.
Yep.
And valued.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So you just said something cool, right? So this is my only tattoo. I got it
last year.
I was 36. So I'm not really, obviously you can tell I'm not much of a tattoo person, but I went all out. And this tattoo for me is a reminder to rest in the infinite with my eyes open and my eyes closed. Right. And so, like, I literally put this on my body forever because I wanted a reminder every time I looked at my arm, which is a lot, especially now that it's so pretty. But like I just wanted the reminder. And I have to say, I cannot take credit for where this came from. One of the teachers of Ascension, her name is Jaya Ashaya. She drew this as a cute little cartoon at a meditation retreat that I went to, and I looked at it and I was like, I'm putting that on my body. And then this is what it turned into. But like that, like, we are the infinite. We are it. Like, whoa. Like, there's nowhere I have to go. I don't have to go to Hawaii. I don't have to go to the Himalayas. I don't have to do anything else except be. And yes, there are, like, I love my essential oils because they physically remind me, right, to be present, to be in infinite space. Like, it's a physical reminder, much like my tattoo is a physical reminder, because I am in a physical experience. How cool is that? I get to be this divine being in a physical experience. That's pretty freaking amazing. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
I feel pretty special to be a human being.
Yes.
Right? Like, whoa, this is who I get to be right now. That's so cool. And like,
And if our children just rise up like that.
Yeah.
And be,
exactly. And my hope is that no one ever has to wake up again. Right? That we can simply stay in pure consciousness. Like, that's my hope. I mean, we all look at like, how did those giant heads get to Easter Island? Maybe they were just from pure consciousness. Maybe that wasn't even hard to do.
Maybe
like
just
maybe we actually lived as humans like that. And so stuff like that occurred. Maybe. Wouldn't that be cool?
I told
right?
you.
And now we have another opportunity to like really, like, we don't even have to remember anymore. We can raise humans who know. And then they can raise humans who know.
That's our next phase of evolution.
Yes. So there's my mission,
Oh my
apparently. God. Apparently that's what I'm on this earth to do. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Thanks for this conversation. I better really get my faith going and get in action for this.
Stay in alignment, Betty. The world needs it.
I love realizing when stuff is actually bigger than I thought it was. It's actually pretty freaking cool.
Yes. But it's so simple too.
Yeah. It's so simple. It is. And it's just listening, right?
And remembering.
Yep. It's just listening and remembering and being willing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been a chat. And as always, I'm glad we got extra light in the house. Jay.
Me too. Oh,
so
amazing.
Through from Florida on her way to Nevada for cruising, campering. Yep. She's got her little dog here. So she camper right into my driveway.
Amazing.
Camping in the driveway.
Yes.
Yep.
Fun.
I love it. I absolutely love it. We got an RV last year, a little Class C motorhome. Man, that thing is fun.
Yep.
So fun. I actually want to take it across country to Maine, Jay. So I might need
some guidance.
I may be calling you for some pointers.
Yep.
I'm on the learn as you go program.
Hey, it's the best program, right? Experience is the best teacher.
Experiential learning. Right, it's finest.
Experiential learning right here.
Put it in
Get
drive.
It, there you go. Yeah,
Put it in
much.
drive.
Right?
Yeah.
Put it in drive and fill it with gas. And just
Yeah.
go where it takes you.
And trust the universe has got my back.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
angels appear, and yeah, it's pretty wild. It's been a pretty wild couple weeks so far. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so wonderful. Oh my heavens. Janice, thank you for this opportunity. This was such a fun conversation. And I just really appreciate you.
And I'm going to plug it one more time. So if people need to find you,
yes.
So we keep calling you Betty, but
yes.
It's Megan Betty Morin, Morin. And then the book is Invisible No More, Invincible Forever More. And you can find that on Amazon.
Yes.
You get a paperback for $14.99 or the Kindle version for 99 cents. And let's keep these guys at number one, because this is the voices we need, because we're going to rise.
Yay.
So we need some roar.
And if you ever want to find out more about me, not on Facebook, I'm also at www.moveinwarduplift.com.
Oh, right there.
That is my I don't know. That's the name under which I'm doing the things I'm doing. So head there to see all the evolution, because I'm sure it's just gonna keep moving and doing what it does as opportunities show up. So
and
that's pretty cool.
For those who are in Utah too, I know this is probably where you're starting. It could probably take you other places because you have an RV now, but getting your keynote speaking and getting you into schools, specifically middle schools. So ladies, if you guys are listening and know that your children need it, let's get her in.
Or if you want some tools to help your kids, right? Like as moms, as parents, right? We've got to be able to support our kids too.
Yes. And we all
Right. So it's one thing to go into a school and to help kids. And it's another thing to also bring families along. Right. And so moms, if you've got a group or if you're part of, selling Young Living or any other direct sales, right? You've got a team. Maybe your team needs to hear it too.
Okay. Appreciate that.
There you go.
Absolutely.
I love you guys. Thank you.
Mwah.
Yay.
All right. I'm going to hang
Right.
it.
Take good care. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I'll call you later. Love you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Love you.